Good morning. We're going to get started this morning with an invocation led by Pastor Josh Wooten of Harvest Church, and that'll be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mackenzie Gibson, representing Girl Scouts Troop 156. Please stand as you are able.
Let's pray. Father God, I just want to start today's meeting by giving you thanks and honor and remembering all the blessings that we have in our life and all the things we have to be grateful for. And I want to say thank you that we live in a city, one of the greatest cities in the world, that still sees the priority of including you in our leadership council. And I pray that you would watch over these leaders, keep them safe, protect them, give them courage and patience as they lead your people with dignity and grace. And I pray that today's meeting would be productive and that you would help the Thunder pull this out, Father. In your name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in giving the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Wooten, and thank you, Mackenzie. I call this meeting of the City Council to order, and we will begin with item 3, Office of the Mayor, and we have a few ceremonial presentations in addition to the resolution, and I'll make my way to the front. Okay, how about our friends here for Building Safety Month? If they're even in the room. Wow, very good. All right, well, we probably take for granted the reality that we live and we work and live in buildings that are much larger and taller than thousands of years of human history, and we also take for granted the safety that comes with that. And so we'd like to learn a little bit more about the work our city staff does to ensure that safety. And so I would ask the clerk to read this proclamation for Building Safety Month.
Whereas the International Code Council recognizes May as Building Safety Month in order to raise awareness about the critical role building safety professionals play in protecting our communities. And whereas the safety and resilience of our homes, buildings, and infrastructure are essential to everyday life and especially vital when disaster strikes. And whereas building safety is upheld by dedicated professionals, including code officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these professionals implement modern building codes and standards that include safeguards protecting the public from hazards such as tornadoes, floods, wildfires, and other natural disasters. And whereas the International Code Council brings together local, state, and federal officials to create and maintain the highest quality codes and standards for the built environment. And whereas the 2026 Building Safety Month theme, Built to Last, encourages communities to raise awareness about building safety and acknowledge the essential service provided by building safety and fire prevention professionals. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Building Safety Month in Oklahoma City.
Thank you. And we've got Brock Rowe here to say a few words about Building Safety Month.
Thank you, Mayor. So for the people in the room that don't know who I am, I'm the Director of Development Services, and we take care of all the permitting, licensing, all the building inspections, the mechanical, electrical, all those inspections for the city. This is just a part of the staff that are here today, but it really starts like a river. We have our permitting staff who work really diligently to get those permits in place so that you guys can go out and do your work. I noticed there's a lot of electrical contractors in here today, so thank you for the support today. We appreciate you coming. But I just want to say it rolls up to our once the permits are there, we have our inspectors, our plan reviewers who do all the plan review on that to make sure that those buildings are in compliance with our International Code Council codes. And then we have our building inspectors, plumbing inspectors, mechanical inspectors, and electrical inspectors that go out and make sure those jobs are safe. They go out and check the work of a lot of the people in this room, and they partner with them to make sure that we are getting the safest building possible for people to occupy in our city. So thank you to all my staff. There's about 80 of you, and they're not all in this room. So I thank you guys for all the hard work you do, and the city really appreciates it, because without you, we would have a lot of unsafe buildings, and you take care of a lot, and you have a large load that you take care of, and we truly appreciate it.
Awesome. Let's hear it for our city staff who ensure our building's safety. Thank you, Brock. Now, how about our friends who are here for EMS Week? EMS Week. They might be out in the lobby. Oh, they're right here. Obviously, should have noticed your uniforms. Come on up. All right, so yeah, come on both sides. Okay, so we've got a proclamation here because it is EMS Week, and we'd like to learn a little bit more about that, and so I'd ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Whereas National EMS Week is celebrated across the country the week of May 17th to 23rd, 2026. And whereas EMSA has served as Oklahoma City's provider of pre-hospital emergency medical care since 1990, and today stands as the 12th largest EMS system in the United States. And whereas EMSA employs 375 emergency medical technicians, paramedics, and support staff dedicated to serving the residents of Oklahoma City. And whereas EMSA's highly trained emergency medical professionals answered the call to duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, reducing pain and suffering through exceptional and compassionate care. And whereas EMSA plays a critical role in trauma system management, continuing healthcare education, community preparedness, and disaster and pandemic response. And whereas EMSA is an international leader in cost efficiency, clinical quality, and technology, serving as a model for EMS systems across the United States and around the world. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th, 2026 as EMS Week in Oklahoma City.
Well, thank you. And obviously, we are joined today by some of our EMS professionals, and we're going to hear a few words from Michael Parrish. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, I'm Michael Parrish, the Director of Operations of here in Oklahoma City of EMSA. I got to say, first of all, thank you very much for the proclamation of EMS Week. We're extremely grateful at EMSA to serve the citizens in the community of Oklahoma City. It's one of the greatest privileges that we can actually have, and thank you very much, and thank you for the proclamation.
Thank you. Let's hear it for our EMS All right, National Public Works Week. Debbie and her team. Very good. Come on down. Yeah, just fill in both sides here. All right, it's National Public Works Week, and we'd like to learn a little bit more about that, and so I'd ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Whereas public works professionals are responsible for the infrastructure, facilities, and services essential to the health, safety, and quality of life of the people of Oklahoma City. And whereas these vital services depend on the dedicated efforts of engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government who work to rebuild, improve, and protect our transportation systems, water supply, water treatment, solid waste systems, and public buildings. And whereas it is in the public interest for residents, civic leaders, and young people in Oklahoma City to understand the importance of public works and the professionals who deliver these services every day. And whereas 2026 marks the 66th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association and celebrated in communities across the country. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim the week of May 17th, 2026 as National Public Works Week in Oklahoma City.
Thank you. And we've got Debbie Miller here from the Public Works Department, our Public Works Director, to share a few thoughts about Public Works Week.
Thank you, Mayor Holt. We're excited to have Public Works Week. I have up here with me the American Public Works Association Board. And just to let you know a little bit about what we do, I mean, it was in the proclamation, but we touch almost every part of your life. And it's my employees who are out there doing the roads, making sure you can get through. They're turning on the water in your faucet. The water comes out. It just touches everything. So if you happen to drive by and see a crew out working on a water line or in the road, stop and say thank you.
All right. Well, let's say thank you right now. Thank you. Thank you all. Preservation Month. If all our folks here for Preservation Month could come down. You arrived here with like 20 people. I know they're here somewhere. All right, no worries. Come on, come on, come on. All right, well, as they're making their way in, it is, in fact, Preservation Month in May, and so I would ask the clerk to read this proclamation.
Whereas May is recognized across the country as Preservation Month, recognizing historic places, heritage tourism, and the social and economic benefits of historic preservation. And whereas historic preservation plays an integral role in protecting Oklahoma City's unique character and cultural identity, creating thriving neighborhoods, vibrant commercial districts, and distinctive landmarks throughout our city. And whereas the City of Oklahoma City Historic Preservation Commission works to increase public awareness of the value of historical, architectural, and archaeological resources through public education and outreach. And whereas the Historic Preservation Commission, in partnership with the Oklahoma City Foundation for Architecture, the Oklahoma City County Historical Society, and Historic Preservation, Inc., presents annual Excellence in Historic Preservation Awards, recognizing outstanding projects across categories, including preservation, restoration, adaptive reuse, infill, and leadership. And whereas this year's Excellence in Historic Preservation Award recipients include the First National Center for Preservation, the Wall Court for Restoration, the Pachyderm Building for Adaptive Reuse, the Paseo Duplex for Historic District Project, Villa Teresa for infill, and the Crown Heights Edgemere Heights Neighborhood Association, and Marva Ellard for leadership. Now, therefore, I, David Holt, Mayor of the City of Oklahoma City, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Preservation Month in Oklahoma City and congratulate the awardees on their achievements.
Well, as stated in the proclamation, we're very grateful for all the work that's being done to preserve our history here in Oklahoma City, and it's kind of well known that maybe we went through a period in our history when we didn't do that. So we're trying to make up for lost time, and there's been some amazing projects here in the community that have really inspired us, and I know there's more to come. And to speak to that is Katie Friddle here with city staff.
Thank you. I'm Katie Friddle. I'm staff to the city's Historic Preservation Commission. Beyond the commission's regulatory design review process, they have a mission and a purpose to raise awareness for and appreciation of historic properties and the city's history that is conveyed through those properties across Oklahoma City. This month, in honor of Preservation Month, the commission partnered with some like-minded organizations, the Oklahoma City County Historical Society, the Oklahoma City Foundation for Architecture, and Historical Preservation, Inc., to do our first, at least in a long time, Preservation Awards. We were excited to present these awards to the projects and the people that are doing the work so that we can celebrate that history in those historic places for generations to come. So excited to be here today just to celebrate Preservation Month and give some of our award winners that are up here with me today one more round of applause. Thank you.
Yes, let's hear it. And finally, Juan Lopez, our Employee of the Month. and the resolution on our agenda. Where is Juan? Come on down. He's got his family here. And that cool new City Edition hat. Come on down. Well, Juan, we'd like to learn a little bit more about you, and so I'd ask the clerk to read this resolution.
Whereas Juan Lopez has been a city employee for 15 years and serves as Field Operations Supervisor for the Waterline Maintenance Division of the Utilities Department. And whereas Juan consistently demonstrates a commitment to placing the people of Oklahoma City at the center of his work, recognizing that utilities and waterline maintenance directly affect the daily lives, health, and safety of our community. And whereas during a critical repair at Northwest 139th Street and North Portland Avenue that affected a local hospital, Juan took the initiative to work directly with the hospital's team to ensure its water supply remained secure throughout the repair process. And whereas Juan proactively scheduled the necessary repair work for the weekend to further reduce impacts on the hospital and surrounding community. And whereas Juan's dedication, foresight, and effective communication allowed the hospital to maintain all critical operations without interruption. And whereas Juan's actions exemplify the city's service-first core value and strengthen the reliability of essential services for the community. And whereas the council desires to recognize Juan Lopez for his commitment to public service and the residents of Oklahoma City. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and council of the city of Oklahoma City that they do hereby thank and commend Juan Lopez, May 2026, South Oklahoma City Kiwanis Club Employee of the Month.
Well, thank you. This is a resolution, so we are going to take a vote on this real quick, Juan, and then we'll turn the floor over to you. So let's see, we've got a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. I wish to vote aye. All right, passes unanimously. Now, Juan, your work and the work of the folks in your department is a reminder that what you do here for the city is literally life-preserving, and it's really critical, and we're so grateful that we have the opportunity to express our gratitude to you today. And we'd love to hear a few words. It can be as short as you like. The floor is yours, Juan.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, I just thank all my people from the water guys, and I mean, I'm so nervous that, but I thank everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's show our... All right, that concludes Office of the Mayor. We have no items from council. We're at item 5, City Manager reports. Mr. City Manager.
All that we have on today is claims and payroll, and that can be found on okc.gov, and there's no further presentations.
All right, item 6, Journal of Council Proceedings. We have items A and B we could take with one motion. I'm still getting going. I wish to vote aye. Passes unanimously. Next up is item 7, request for uncontested continuances. On the agenda is item 9A, which will be deferred to June 2nd. Is there anything else, Mr. City Manager?
Yes, on page 15, item 11A, PUD 2105, and item 11B, PUD 2124. Both of those will be deferred to June the 2nd. And on item 11E, SPUD 1799, that will be deferred to June 16th. Continuing on page 17, item 11L1, dilapidated structures. Item G, these items will all be stricken from the agenda. Item G, 2340 Southwest 40th Street to rework for additional structures. Continuing on page 17, item 11M1, unsecured structures. Item A, 6900 London Way, the owner is secured. Item D, 1536 Southwestern Avenue, it's multiple units and some commercial buildings. We're reworking that item. Item F, 112 Northwest 28th Street, the owner has secured. And then item H, 2340 Southwest 40th Street, to rework for additional structures. And that's all the items that I have.
Okay. Item 8, irrevocable permits and events. We have item 8A, a revocable permit with the Downtown Oklahoma City Partnership for Downtown OKC Day on June 3rd in Kerr Park. And we have Olivia Branscombe here.
Hello, Council. Thank you for having me today. We are requesting permission to have Downtown OKC Day at Kerr Park on June 3rd. It's a lunchtime event. We bring food trucks out, and everybody can either come join us and pack their lunch or join us for lunch. We'll have great activations, fun DJ, entertainment, and just a little day to celebrate Downtown OKC and all the people that make it vibrant and thriving, and hopefully celebrate the first day of the finals. And it's 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Hammond?
Well, I know it's always a really fun day, so we'll hope for really great weather, and I'm happy to move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. 8B is a revocable right-of-way use permit with Coker Tire Company to hold the Great Race on June 22nd on Exchange Avenue. And nobody has signed up to speak. Councilwoman Hammond.
I will move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 8C is a revocable right-of-way use permit with the Britton Business District to hold Britton District Day on June 6th on Britton Road. And no one has signed up to speak. Council members Cooper and Pennington.
Britton District is awesome. Looking forward to celebrating it. I move approval.
Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, we will now recess the council and convene as the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority, where we have items A through J we could take with one motion. Executive session is not requested for item I2. I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCMFA and convene as the Oklahoma City Public Property Authority, where we have items A through G we could take with one motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. We'll adjourn OCPPA and reconvene as the council, where we are on item 9, the consent docket. Item 9A was previously deferred. Is there any other item that a member wishes to pull out for a separate vote, comment, question?
Mayor, I need to recuse myself on E and H.
E as in Eric and H as in Harry?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay, hearing none, we'll start there then, if you want to step out, and we will have votes. If we can get a motion on item E. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. And then a motion on item H. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. The only other thing I wanted to do was just express gratitude on item J. This is a grant from the Inasmuch Foundation in excess of $2.2 million, which is going to support the operations at our new Animal Welfare Center that will, obviously funded through MAPS 4, that will come online here in the next year, and just always grateful when our foundations here in town support our good work. With that, we can take up the remainder of the consent docket for a vote. Motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. The concurrence docket is item 10, and we can take items A through V with one vote. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11 are items for individual consideration. Item A was deferred. Item B was deferred, which brings us to item C, which is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 1120 East Hefner Road from PUD 285 and PUD 2031 to PUD 2132. Councilman Pennington, no one assigned to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just an expansion of the academy, and so I'm going to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item D is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 3748 Northwest 150th from I-1 and PUD 164 to PUD 2135. Councilman Stonecipher, no one assigned to speak.
Thank you, Your Honor. This was passed by the Planning Commission. I am happy and excited to move for the approval of this ordinance at this time.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item E was previously deferred, which brings us to item F, which is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, rezoning 2012 Northwest 40th from R1 and SPD 111 to SPD 1815. Councilman Cooper, no one is signed. Actually, we do have the applicant here. Sign up to speak.
That's wonderful, because I was going to invite the applicant.
Lane Wren.
That's who.
Good morning. I'm Lane Wren of Brahms Ice Cream and Dairy Store on behalf of this rezoning case.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about what you're doing? My understanding is Oklahomans enjoy Brahms, so.
So that's what they say. It's the vision that our leader has, especially in projects like this. We want to provide as much parking as possible for local events in the area, during the summertime that we'll see here. And by extending this parking lot eastward, we'll have enough room for parking for our employees to leave that nice, big, pretty front row for, families looking to get that double dip of ice cream. So that's kind of the vision that we have with it, and we're proud and excited to see how it'll turn out.
That's great. Were you able to connect with our council staff to get some of the information that we talked about yesterday?
A little crowded back there, but I'll grab it on the way out for sure.
I didn't realize we'd have so many guests today, but yeah, so one of the things I made sure that Lane and his team have are resource cards regarding homelessness, because, we've been working pretty diligently over around 39th and Penn to make sure we can connect people to housing and stabilizing community support resources. And so now we'll be able to disseminate some resource guides to their team to be able to, when they see someone experiencing homelessness, reach out to our action center and connect folk to those services. So I really appreciate you, Lane, for working with me on that yesterday.
Well, we appreciate the resources. We're always here to help, and we believe in the community, so we'll continue to build.
That's great. Well, cool. Well, let's move for approval then.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11G is an ordinance on final hearing recommended for approval, establishing a special permit to operate use unit 8300.18 automotive and equipment in the C3 district found at 11818 Southwestern. Councilman Hinkle, no one assigned to speak.
This is a Tesla rental place moving into a abandoned Burger King, so I'm all for it.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item H is an ordinance on final hearing. It was recommended for approval, establishing a special permit to operate use unit 8250.10, high impact institutional in the C3 district found at 3817 Northwest Expressway. Councilman Cooper, no one is signed to speak.
Well, I will move for approval.
Yeah, do we need to?
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. I am told that Councilman Hinkle, you actually wish to maybe pursue an emergency on item G. Is that correct?
Yes, please.
All right, so we can go back to that. So this would be the emergency vote, if you'd like to make that motion for the approval on item 11G. I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously and with the necessary supermajority for an emergency. Okay, item 11I is an ordinance on final hearing that was recommended for approval, closing a portion of the east-west alley in the portion of the city here described along Northwest 101st. Councilman Pennington, no one is signed to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just closing some alleys, and I'm going to move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11J is an ordinance on final hearing establishing reserved parking for the physically disabled on the east side of Dewey near Northwest 11th. Councilwoman Hammond, no one is signed to speak.
I will move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item K is an ordinance on final hearing establishing a reserved parking for government use zone on the east side of Hudson between Park and Kerr. Councilwoman Hammond, no one is signed to speak.
I'll move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11L1 is a public hearing regarding the dilapidated structures here listed, except for the one previously struck. Amy, has anyone signed to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we'll advance to 11.2, the resolution declaring that the structures are dilapidated. 11L2. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11M1 is the public hearing regarding the unsecured structures here listed, except for those previously struck. Amy, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we'll advance to the resolution found at M2, declaring the structures are unsecured. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. 11N1 is the public hearing regarding the abandoned buildings here listed. Amy, has anyone signed to speak?
No, they haven't.
They have not, and so we'll advance to the resolution found at N2, declaring that the buildings are abandoned. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11O is a resolution adopting an open data policy and directing the city's data governance board to maintain the open data policy. And Mr. City Manager, we have a presentation.
Yes, Kelly Williams, our Chief Innovation Officer, is here today, and then Dusty Burkhart is with her. He is our IT Director, just to present this item and to explain the policy and some changes that we're looking at in our open data portal.
Good morning. Dr. Kelly Williams, Chief Innovation Officer for the City of Oklahoma City. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and City Manager for having me here today and for your continued support for efforts of the Data Governance Board, which, as you may recall, is a cross-departmental group of staff focused on improving the city's data resources. Today, we're asking you to pass a resolution establishing the city's first open data policy, formalizing the city's commitment to data transparency and accessibility for data that is appropriate for publication, and formalizing the process for publication. And while the city has fulfilled this in practice, having a formal council-approved policy is in line with best practices and really helps solidify that commitment. I'd also like to take a moment to highlight our new open data portal. We've long had an open data portal available so that the public can use and access city data. But a key component of the existing portal is being sunset by the provider. So we've needed to find a new tool, and IT has been able to do that under an existing city contract, so with no additional cost. I'm very pleased to report that this new tool actually provides a much more user-friendly experience. It's much easier to interact with, provides a lot more opportunity for folks to learn about the data sets, where they come from, and how they're maintained. And we're moving data from the old to the new portal. Right now, the new portal is up under a beta launch, so we're able to have those available side by side, get some feedback and test while we move the data from the old to the new portal, just to make sure that there's continuity there. And I'm really excited that the new open data policy aligns with this new portal, because as we are renewing our commitment to transparency and open data, we're also able to just offer that better experience to folks who would like to access our data. So again, with that, I would like to thank all of you, our Data Governance Board and our data stewards for their work on this policy, and also our IT team for their work on this portal. And with that, we'd like to recommend that you pass this resolution.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right. If there's no comment or questions, we could take a motion on the resolution. Got a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Thank you. That item had its own theme song. All right, item P is a joint resolution with the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust certifying that Project SNAKE is an eligible project under the Strategic Investment Program's Film Incentive Program. And we have a presentation from Jill Simpson.
Yes, Jill is here with the Oklahoma City Film Office. I do want to note that typically when we bring these items forward, we'll come to the Oklahoma City Economic Development Trust first, and then bring the item before the council. This one, because of the timeline, we needed to move this quickly, and so we're approving it with council, and this afternoon it'll go before the Economic Development Trust. So just wanted to point that out. Thanks,
Thank you, City Manager. That's exactly right. We are very fortunate to be trying to bring this project in based on your approval. We've codenamed it Project SNAKE, and if you want to advance the slide, this is an independent film, and it is a large budget independent film. The producers made the film, Oscar-nominated films La La Land and Sicario. So this is a very prestigious project that we are pulling out of Texas, thus the rush to get it considered today so that we can keep it on track. It's about a Fort Worth Police Department officer and county deputy, and they plan to take down a cartel boss by flipping his brother. A task force, including the officer and sheriff, take down the cartel boss and pin it on the brother. The operation goes awry, leading to a series of violent confrontations and betrayals within the task force. I read the script, it's fantastic, and I'm really excited to be able to bring it to you. It's full of plot twists. They had just signed an A-list star, so I'm excited about that, and I think there's more announcements to come soon. Filming dates they begin August 17th for 40 days. It's produced by Enid natives Trent and Thad Luckenbill, and they have a company in LA called Black Label Media. 75% will be filmed in Oklahoma City proper. It's directed by Tulsa native John Schwab, and this is a big step up for him. 50% plus of Oklahoma City-based crew, and they're going to try to hire as much as they possibly can, but when you get into the bigger films, it's tougher with some of the department head type roles. Anticipated Oklahoma expenditures direct are $13,654,663, which represents 34% of the budget. At their expenditure rate, they could qualify for the 10%, and in this case, due to the 5 uptick spending, hiring at least 50% of crew locally, more than 75% of filming days in Oklahoma City, more than 50% of contracts with local vendors, in this case 75. They're going to make every effort to use diverse minority contractors. They're pre-qualified for the state rebate, and their local expenditures are projected to be almost triple the minimum 10% threshold of $5 million. So for that reason, I'm recommending the full rebate allocation maximum of $1 million. They're hiring 90 crew locally over 40 days, so that equates to 5,400 man days. 50% local crew, $5,094,007 labor income, and they'll be doing an additional 20 days of prep and wrap in Oklahoma City. So the highlights are 75% of filming days here, 50% plus percent of our crew is local, and 75% of the vendors will be local. The economic impact for this project, the total impact is $33.5 million. Jobs supported direct and indirect are 976. Labor income is $12,167,601. And then the qualifying expenditures breakdown is $13,654,663. Taxable expenditures, $3,759,292. Below the line salary and per diem, which means the working crew, $5,490,609, and above the line salary and per diem, capped at 25%, is $90,000. Does anybody have questions?
No?
Okay.
Sounds like a exciting
It's
opportunity.
a coup for us. This is the type of film we've been working. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
It's great work. This is exciting, Jill. Thank you.
Well, if there's no other comments or questions, we can take a motion on the joint resolution. Got a motion and a second? Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Jill. Next up is item Q. This is a resolution adopting the City of Oklahoma City Emergency Operations Plan and authorizing the city manager to implement the plan. And we have a presentation.
Captain Audrey George is with us this morning. She serves many roles in the police department, one of which is our emergency manager, and will present the emergency operations plan. We update this each year, and she'll just give us a quick overview of the updates.
Yes, sir. So I am Captain George. I'm the emergency manager for Oklahoma City. I've also brought Kim Jensen with me today. She is our new emergency planner, and we're here today to present the emergency operation plan. So, as you know, the emergency operation plan has to be updated annually and presented to council for adoption. We are about a month early this year, and that is thanks to Kim Jensen, who has kept us on point and made sure that we stayed ahead of schedule. With all the things we have going on in the office, it's very important for her to keep us on track. So the emergency operations plan is the city's blueprint for emergencies, and it tells us what to do before, during, and after a disaster. Next one, please. For the updates this year, every year it is our goal to make the plan an easier read. We've added graphs and visuals, and this year we are actually able to take it from 60 pages down to 42 pages. We did some updating on the ESF, which is our emergency support functions. We added a line of succession to the different functions, and then we also updated the contact lists for those functions. Also, we made it easier to find. So public information and marketing helped us recently, and this is actually where you can go to find the plan and to read it, which I would like to encourage everybody to read it. Again, we are trying to make it an easier read, so please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate your work.
Thank you, Captain George. All right, well, if there are no comments or questions, we could take up the resolution with a motion. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, item R1 is a joint resolution with the Oklahoma City Municipal Facilities Authority approving settlement of the workers' compensation subrogation claim related to payment of medical bills on behalf of Jonathan Wechter. Executive session is not requested. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. The next three items are all going into executive session. As per our usual custom, we'll handle those at the end of our other business, but we'll take the votes now to enter executive session. So item 11S is to enter an executive session on the advice of the municipal counselor to receive confidential communications concerning the case of Smith v. City of OKC. Take a motion on that. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. Item 11T is enter into executive session on advice of the municipal counselor to receive confidential communications concerning the case of Smith v. OKC. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. And finally, on this round, 11U, enter into executive session on advice of the municipal counselor to receive confidential communications regarding settlement discussions in the case of Van Landingham v. OKC. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously, and as I said, we'll handle those three executive sessions at the end of our other business. Item V1 is a claim recommended for denial. Executive session is not requested. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. W1 are claims recommended, or a claim recommended for approval. Executive session is not requested. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, 11X is an either-or proposition. We have 11X1 and 11X2. Both are ordinances to be introduced, and they are proposed to be adopted with an emergency if the votes are there. And these are addressing the conversation we had a few weeks ago about creating some common sense exemptions to the temporary moratorium that we approved a few weeks ago relative to new data centers in Oklahoma City. Mr. City Manager, I believe you have a presentation.
Yes. So Lauren Limbo Kelleher is here with us today, one of our municipal councilors. She's going to explain what we're proposing here as the exemptions to the moratorium. I did want to clarify that these are exemptions to the moratorium that we're creating and that we're discussing. It does not exempt from permitting or from zoning that's required with this. And again, it's involving just an exemption to our temporary moratorium that we have in place that's extended through December 31st of 2026. And so Lauren, I'll turn it over to you and let you explain the exemptions that we've created here.
And just to maybe state it a different way, what you just said is like, these exemptions don't approve people's zoning, and you get caught up in that a little bit, this conversation, and you forget that all that the moratorium bars are applications for building permits and zoning applications. They still have to go, should they be exempted from the moratorium, they still have to go through those processes. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Lauren Kelleher, Municipal Counselor's Office. As already previously stated, the moratorium that's already in place only addresses the ability to pursue permitting and zoning. Also, before we get started on the amendments, there are two current PUDs that are exempted under the current moratorium, and those are PUD 2105 and 2124. Both of those PUDs are set on today's agenda for a final hearing, whether heard or not. The rationale in the exemption in the original moratorium was that development services, planning, utilities, and public works all sat across the table with the applicant to negotiate very specific technical evaluations to address some of these concerns that we've been hearing, such as water usage, noise, road maintenance, what to do with the site once it's no longer operating as a data center. So those two PUDs are currently exempted from the moratorium. So based off of feedback that we've received from this group, staff and council have drafted two different options for your consideration today. And I'm going to walk through each of those options. Option one is starts with the foundation of business as usual. If you are a data center right now, it is business as usual. The moratorium does not impact your ability to continue business. What does happen is if I want to build a net new data center, or if I want to expand on a current data center and the electrical load associated with that expansion or net new build exceeds 75 megawatts, then you are prohibited from pursuing the applications for zoning and building. To go one step further, you then have the two PUDs that I just listed, which are exempted from the prohibition. So that is option one. Moving on to option two builds on option one. So same pieces. We start on business as usual. If you are operating a data center right now, keep moving. This doesn't impact you. If you are building anything net new or expanding on an existing and such electrical load associated with the net new and the build exceeds 75 megawatts, then you are prohibited from pursuing the building and the zoning permitting. The two PUDs are still exempted, and then it goes, the only difference between option one and option two is that there is a third exempted project specifically called out at the 7725 West Reno location.
Do you want to explain how we arrived at the 75 megawatts as kind of a barrier there when we were looking at some of the discussion we were having with some of the existing data centers?
Absolutely. Staff did amazing research and also talked with some of our community partners, and we were wanting to recognize those businesses that have what we call enterprise data centers. So those data centers to where they are truly supporting their back of house operations. It's I run a business and I have an asset management system, I have a financial system, I have an HR system. So it's the blinky lights and the wires and everything that go to support my business. In talking with our community partners and their intent to expand over the next 18 to 24 months, we were talking single digits as far as megawattage. Further, 75 to 100 industry standard, depends on where you go, but that's where you're kind of looking at that threshold for a hyperscale. Likewise, House Bill 2992 was recently signed into law last week, and that places, it's the Ratepayer Protection Act and has a threshold of 75 megawatts. And additionally, the two Corporation Commission orders that are with PSO and with OG&E place it at the 75. So that's where staff landed at that threshold.
So we had discussions regarding the adjustments that were here, and the two data center operators that came at the meeting where we approved the moratorium and spoke to us about their concerns. We had talked to the folks that are at the Expand campus. We believe the 75 megawatts would capture that one. That's why we didn't call that one out separately like we did the 7725 property. As we put the language out, they recognized that it references the 75 megawatts net new would include if you had redundant power. So you'd have to include the redundant power that you're drawing. There was questions over how that would be interpreted. So there's an additional amendment that I think maybe Councilman Stonecipher is going to speak to that would add in that specific site to clarify that that was the intent. We thought the 75 megawatts would capture that. That's why we didn't list that out separately. So I'll let Councilman Stonecipher speak to that amendment.
Yes, thank you, City Manager. We find ourselves at 11X. We're in version 2, which we're looking at the language in section 3. And looking at it this morning, and Kenny, you may have to help me out on this, it's a little complicated. And looking at the language this morning in section 3, we found a Scrivener's error and a Scrivener's omission. And the Scrivener's error is the proposed data center project at 7725 West Reno is listed as North Reno. So we need to fix that to West Reno. And then secondly, as the city manager just mentioned, we did not include what we call PUD 1426, also known as expand. So what we're doing is we're saying that the ordinance, the moratorium, and I really want to be clear on this, shall not apply to PUD 2105 located at I-40 and Frisco Road, PUD 2124 located at Northwest 23rd Street and Frisco Road, and that the proposed data center project at 7725 West Reno will not be subject to the ordinance, and that the expand PUD 1426 shall not be subject to the ordinance. And that's the amendment that I would like to propose that we make as to those 2 points, the correction of the address and the addition of PUD 1426. Did I do that right?
One additional thing I'd like to point out that I just noticed, it might be a Scribner's error, is that it says PUD 2105 is located at 140 instead of I-40. I don't know if we need to clarify that and include that in the amendment.
Let's include that in the amendment. So there'll be 3 changes to what we know as Section 3 in Version 2, found at page 1 of Version 2.
Okay.
So moved.
Code, let me read the exact language. You would change North Reno to West Reno, and then for 1426, it would say, and PUD 1426, comma, as may be permitted.
Yes, and we did a handout this morning with these corrections. The only thing we're missing is Joe Best's I-40.
And then also the I-40. You got that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is your, Councilman Stonecipher, you're proposing to pursue item 2, and this is an amendment to that.
It's an amendment to Version 2, yes.
Okay. All right, well, we can take a...
I do have a question, and
Sure.
I'm sort of struggling with where to ask it, but I figure, I guess here is good as any, because it might inform how I vote on the amendment. But I guess I'd like to hear from legal counsel what our risks are with calling out specific addresses or developments that don't already have an application in process. Because the way I understand it is that the PUDs that are on, that Lauren, you mentioned, are on today's council agenda, the reason that those are called out and kind of legally defensible for exclusion is because they're already sort of in the process. And so it'd be very hard for us to sort of say, like, we have the right to sort of stop that while it's, like you said, they're kind of making those technical evaluations and amendments to sort of address the concerns. I guess my question then is, so adding multiple exemptions for specific properties that do not have an application in process, what is our legal risk? Or even, because I think my concern is like, well, where does that stop? Does someone show up today or next week and say, me too, can you add me into that exemption? I want to hear more about that, I guess.
Thank you for the question, ma'am. To address the first part of your question, the facility at 7725 North Reno Avenue is base zoned at I-2, and therefore arguably already has the ability to use the facility in this matter. So therefore, a PUD or a SPUD is not necessary, which is the mechanism at this point we're using to negotiate those TEs. As far as the second location with PUD 1426, while not specifically stated in the PUD, there is a specific plan that calls out the ability to use that space as a data center. And so that is the kind of the rationale from staff and then listening to the feedback that we received from y'all.
I have a different question. Could we just get a further explanation on redundant power? So the idea that because I think the thought is that it does exceed the 75 megawatts. We kind of talked about it before, City Manager, but I just wanted for the public to hear.
Yeah, I'm going to go for my very non-technical understanding, all right? But basically, the intent with this location, the expand site, is that they would generate their own power, but they have redundancy to ensure they can continue the services, and that would be, in essence, backup power that they would use. So it's not a continual draw, but it's backup power. The way the language was written, the idea was they would never be drawing more than 75 megawatts, either from their generated or from the backup, but the way it's written, it would sound like it would incorporate both. And our attorneys agreed that really that is probably the right interpretation of how the language is written. And so just to clarify, because our belief was that because they're using less than 75 megawatts, that it would fall under that limit. But because we called out redundant power, it created that question.
That's good.
Okay, I think I have a follow-up. I needed Councilman Pennington to ask this question while I kind of process my question. So you sort of mentioned that there's already sort of provisions in the base zoning or the PUD for these other two cases. What is stopping us from just including language sort of broader on principle about that compared in an amendment compared to calling out those two specific properties? Because again, I think my concern is, okay, well, another entity comes to us and says, well, we have this provision, and so now we need to be added. And it just feels like at some point we're going to be spending more time making and like researching and making amendments to the moratorium than we are actually doing the work that the moratorium is intended to provide us time for.
Thank you for that question. So the addition of these two exempted properties came from the feedback of you and council. And so it is within your purview to move forward or not in that capacity. There's also a provision that anybody that wants to seek an exemption from the moratorium goes through the Board of Adjustments. And so that's really what keeps it coming, or prevents us coming back to y'all each and every time with these one-offs.
So I guess, so then why aren't we just asking these two entities to go ahead and do that part? Go forward with the Board of Adjustment route than having it come back to us?
That is an option.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Okay, so thank you for your work. I have a few things. So I also share Councilwoman's concerns about what's to come in terms of calling out specific addresses. Relatedly, I would feel more comfortable with this approach if it were the smaller one there at Expand, right? That makes a bit more sense to me. I suspect what I'm going to say is not going to be popular with the people in this room, so bear with me. I won't be here in a couple weeks. I'll be out of the country when it's time to talk about one of the addresses here that's coming before council. It's been deferred since March. I hear, as a former middle school teacher and a current college professor, I hear regularly from my students existential concerns about their water supply, their electric supply, but almost above and beyond that, artificial intelligence, AI. They're concerned about when they graduate right now. Will their jobs be there? And we're talking everything from engineering software majors to acting majors. In fact, I teach English and English composition. And at the end of English Composition 1 last fall, I asked the students, what do you want the theme for Comp 2 to be? I asked them, and they said, Mr. Cooper, dystopia. And I was like, oh, okay, are y'all all right? And so I crafted that class, and for their final paper, I said, you all choose a research topic that you want that's facing the youth, a problem facing the youth, and some solutions. Several of them chose artificial intelligence. So as their professor, I'd already seen some of this. You know, there was a New York Times study that came out recently that said well over half of students are actually using software like ChatGPT to write their essays for them. This is different than what I've talked about with Councilwoman Avers, right? Where someone might use artificial intelligence as a launch pad, a starting point for their research, and then go deeper on their own, right? But that, unfortunately, is not what's happening with the majority of our students. A majority of our students are using this software to enter in the prompts for essays and then generate those essay assignments for them, right? The number of times I've had to sit with students and literally, unfortunately, call them out for a paper they did not write themselves is devastating. And this is made all the more devastating when you look at our reading scores in Oklahoma in K through 12. They're abysmal. And it's not because our students aren't smart, it's because we've not given them the tools to succeed when it comes to reading comprehension and essay writing. And so then several of them will take that shortcut to have these robots write their essays for them. Writing is a process, and it's about growth. And that's something I've taught since middle school. And we are cheating our students out of that growth opportunity to fail and pick themselves back up. In fact, this goes further. Right now, we know that when it comes to AI, these bots can produce, and I'm now quoting, misinformation. They can mislead students. They can underline critical thinking. In fact, they can help lead to self-harm and facilitate that sort of cheating that I have discussed with you today. If I were to vote yes on hyperscale data centers that have that AI possibility, and my students saw me cast that vote, they would be devastated. They have told me that, and I will not. And I'm so sorry to some of you in this room who I'm sure are here advocating otherwise. I did a Google on some of the folk who are here to see some of the background on a company, and I've seen that AI led to 75% reduction in some of their jobs. And that's engineering jobs. I hope that's not true at the local level, but it is true according to Business Insider at the national level. So I have some pretty major concerns about land use for artificial intelligence. I have pretty significant concerns when it comes to land use, when it comes to our finite water supply. I have pretty significant concerns when it comes to the resources that the residents of Oklahoma City depend on for their basic existence. And so it is for that reason, unless we were able to pull out the existing expand, who seem to be doing something a bit more responsible, I'm so sorry, and I'm happy to sit for coffee for anyone who's here and we can dig down a little bit deeper. But as it stands, this is not something I can support. I know there are a lot of people in this room today who are very supportive of data centers. I could fill this room with my students. I could fill this room with a lot of Ward 2 residents who would actually share my concerns. I'm not here to villainize anybody, but I am here to say these are such valid concerns that my students have, and as an educator, I have to share them. And for those of you who are shaking your head right now at me, that's okay. We can agree to disagree, but these are the concerns I hear from my students, and I want to voice them in public right now. Thank you.
I want to speak to the people in the room. I have a friend who's in charge of the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union, so if any of you guys are here, tell Larry I said hello. But he saddled me up last week about what are you guys doing killing data centers? And I said, we're not killing data centers. We're being a worthy investigative body on how they will affect our city. So this moratorium on data centers, which I'm sure that most of you are here against, isn't a permanent thing. We put it till December. We hope we have it figured out much quicker, but it's up to the 9 of us to determine how Oklahoma City is going to look tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, or next year. And I don't want to argue with Councilman Cooper because I'll lose, but if they don't build it here, they're going to build it in Piedmont or Hydro or. And so I'm not against data centers, but I'm not for data centers. I'm for good governments in Oklahoma City and good land use, and how does it affect our water supply, our electric supply. I had the opportunity to tour the 7725 data center last week with Councilman Carter. And as far as the water goes, it's a closed cooling system, glycol water. The water's trucked in, the water's trucked out. There's not a single bit of water that comes out of Oklahoma City's water supply that's gonna be spent cooling any of those systems, which is responsible operations as far as I'm concerned. So I am well in support of option 2 with the amendment of what Councilman Stonecipher talked about. But I want you guys to rest easy. We're not sleeping on data centers. We're not sleeping on your potential jobs for the future. We're just making sure we do it right. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Councilman Hinkle, and share that view that our job is to just carefully evaluate and make a good decision. I think in response to Councilman Cooper, whose point that I also respect, I'm comforted by the fact that it doesn't exempt these data centers from having to come back before us for review, for zoning, or for permitting. So the fact that we're just saying you're just going to have to go through the regular process, which allows the public to be heard, is a comfort to me in this. Final question for the city manager: where are we with the proposed ordinance, and when can we expect to vote on it?
So we've got a group that's working on that right now. We do want to make sure that we incorporate conversations with our partners that are out in the community that manage the data centers, making sure we're just learning and understanding. We've got a legal consultant that's helping us on that side. We also want to bring in someone who's got more expertise and an objective view on data centers to help us understand maybe some of the implications and causes, some of the concerns we have, whether it's water usage or power usage, or even the taxing and how the taxes are paid on that, to have a little bit more understanding on that. So we're working through this. Our goal would really be to have this done well before December 31st. Our intent is not to drag it out that long, but as you know, as we work through these and have these conversations, my guess is what we'll have is in the next 2 to 3 months, be able to do briefings with council to make sure where we are. I would hope we could have it somewhere in that time frame, but I can't guarantee that just because every time we sit down and talk data centers with someone, we learn something more. And that's why I think having the experts in the room with us, but then also talking with the partners that are out there doing these developments is helpful to us to better align what kind of approach we need to have with the standards we put in place for data centers.
The one thing I'd ask, so we can keep this moving forward as fast as possible, is that at each city council meeting under the city manager's report, you update us where we're at, and so we can stay on top of this and get it done quickly.
Okay.
And with that, I would move for the adoption
Of the amendment. We still haven't voted on your amendment.
the amendments, which the amendments are for the I-40 change, the 7725 North Reno to West Reno change, and the addition of PUD 1426, also known as expand.
Okay, so I propose we go ahead and take up that amendment, and then we have a handful of people who've signed up to speak, and we'll hear from them. But I think the amendment has been already well discussed.
And I just, as that occurs electronically, I'll just mention that my main concern is with the sort of, and I think the city manager said it very well, we constantly learn new things, and we have a process for folks to be heard and considered for exemptions or exceptions through the Board of Adjustment. And so I just have deep discomfort with including specific properties in our policy that aren't sort of already in the process of the sort of, I worry that the people who have sort of the influence or the time come and make themselves heard, where that feels a bit of like a favoritism of not having or saying, oh well, these other folks can go to the Board of Adjustment, so that's why I cannot vote yes, or yeah, I cannot support this amendment or this exemption that we're considering.
Okay. If there's no other comments just on the amendment, we'll take that up. This is an amendment to item 2 here. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 7-2. Now we're on the ordinance as amended. It seems like we're kind of circling around number 2 is the option. Why don't we go ahead and bring forward the folks who've signed up to speak. David Box.
David Box, 525 Northwest 11th Street. I'm just happy to answer any questions. Appreciate all the time and effort that the city manager and council has given here. I know Craig hates seeing my name come across his phone several times a day, but I do want to thank him for all the time and effort. So happy to answer any questions if you have it. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor Francis.
Morning, Mayor Holtz, City Manager Freeman, and members of the council. I had a full speech prepared for you in support of everyone here. We have over a few hundred people outside that have created jobs in the last 12 months. We've invested $250 million in the city, and this is what you're seeing here. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. You have PUD 1425 here to address any of those.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Eldridge.
All right, good morning. My name is Jim Eldridge, and I'm an Economic Development Manager with OG&E.
I lead our data center projects and also support our communities with planning and community development services. First off, I just want to say that we appreciate that this is a lot of work's gone into this, and this is a fast-moving thing with a lot of complicated parts. That's why I think it's so important that communities take the time to really understand this, really consider this. We're in full support of that. And we also appreciate the communication and collaboration with City of Oklahoma City, with you all, and with city staff. I think that's been really critical as we've moved forward on this. It's been very helpful for us to see a definition for data centers in the proposed amendments. I think that helps clarify things for our customers, clarifies things for our projects. But we are noting a few concerns with the way that data centers are defined in this definition as being those facilities operating above 75 megawatts. And so just to quickly highlight a couple of things that we noted in this definition, we have a question about how this will be enforced. The electric line drawings show the capacity for electric service, but they don't actually show the consumption. What we're seeing on a lot of projects is a project is proposing operating at a lower electric consumption, say 75 megawatts or less, with the plan to eventually ramp up and scale to a much greater power consumption. Just measuring that number may not be adequate to really understand the full consumption. And so with it out a lot of clarity in how this is enforced, it's raising questions for us about how that information may need to be conveyed from OG&E. And so that's where we would want to collaborate and work with the city on this to really understand how best we can work on this this threshold or this breaking point. I appreciate the conversation about the upcoming code. This is something I know we've engaged with. It's something we're very interested in. I believe the statement was made that the code was last updated in 1980, so we see this as a very critical thing. We want to continue engaging in this and recognize that not just data centers, but industrial land use, job-creating land uses, and utility infrastructure are going to be in there. And so we're in favor of straightforward and enforceable regulations. We want to make it easy on the city. We also want to make it straightforward that OG&E can fully comply with Oklahoma City as well as state and federal regulations. Our concern is that
30 seconds remaining.
this may, anyways, and then finally, we want to make sure that this doesn't incentivize development under 75 megawatts by really making sure those projects move forward. Appreciate the opportunity. The narrative is important, and thank you for your consideration.
Hey, Jim, Mark Stonecipher, would you please put your questions into writing and submit them to the city manager and the council?
Absolutely. Happy to.
Thank you so
And they
much.
did provide us a letter that explained some of the concerns that they had.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Tabrina Alexander.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Tabrina Alexander. I really appreciate Councilman Cooper's words. I live less than 12 miles from Lake Stanley Draper. There are 2 schools near Lake Stanley Draper. I've talked to many residents and no one wants data centers there or anywhere here in Oklahoma. Many of us have called and emailed you and other city council members. I just found out about this meeting and agenda last night, and most people who would like to come and speak aren't able to do so on such short notice on a Tuesday morning. Due to jobs and children, I rearranged my own childcare to make this meeting and drove all the way here this morning from Norman. Please do not approve data centers in Oklahoma. Please keep the moratorium. We need more studies about them because of all the secrecy around them. They aren't even able to be studied adequately. And to assess the impact of consumption and pollution. We need more time to study the ones running before you consider adding more. We also need transparencies from the companies and from you. All data centers need to be blocked, or at the very least, they should be limited to commercial, industrial zoning, and never agricultural, residential, or rural zoning. There should be no loopholes to allow zoning to be changed to allow for a data center. There should be a cap on the size of any data center, never above 1 acre. The data centers should not be allowed without consent of the people. No data centers should be allowed to take our already low water supply used for drinking water for the people of Oklahoma. No data centers should be allowed near schools. Data centers take absurd amounts of water, cause environmental pollution, light, noise, water, air. They cause property values to plummet. And there are new studies, they actually cause physical harm to the people and animals nearby. Let me be clear, the citizens of Oklahoma City and Oklahoma in general, at least the ones who do not directly profit from them, do not want data centers. Represent your constituents, and please, I encourage you all never to sign NDAs and to keep us involved in the conversation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Terrell Zerby.
Mayor Holt, City Manager, council members, much has been said here today. Much has been said over the last 2 weeks. I'm simply here to say thank you to being heard, to City Manager's office, our council members. Many of you I've had exchanges with. We've had tours. Even you, Mr. Cooper, we've had a nice exchange via email. I just wanted to convey our thanks, and we're in support of the war. Thank you.
Man, excuse me, before you go, I just want to double down on your comments. Thank you for the email exchange, and I do want to come tour your facility. And like I said, I want to keep learning a bit more about what you all are up to out there. So,
Okay, thank you.
no, thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Madison Lovell. Okay, well, that was the last person who had.
Madison Lovell?
Uh-huh.
Hello, thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I would like to speak on this agenda item both as an individual but also as a representative of Oklahoma Environmental Coalition. We are a coalition of organizations, of nonprofits, and concerned constituents trying to fight against these data centers. As I understand it, I would like to bring up the concerns that was brought up by Jo Beth Harmon and also a city councilor from Ward 2, that if we allow these exceptions, then we essentially nullify the use of a moratorium. And essentially for the June vote that is coming up, that is a hyperscale data center. The hyperscale data center is of the utmost concern when it comes to water usage, electric usage, and also the use of AI. Any job creation that is made will be stolen by the use of AI technologies. Additionally, the most amount of jobs that are created are construction jobs and temporary remote jobs. So they're not a huge source of giving back to the community. So I request that you do not approve these amendments without exceptions, that you allow a proper moratorium to be in place, so that way we can actually study the effects of both our environment and effects on our community. Sorry for being out of breath. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes residents who've signed up to speak, so we are now on the item as amended. Is there any other discussion?
Just want to do a clerical check. Trevor Francis mentioned PUD 1425, but we do have PUD 1426 in the documentation. I just want to verify that we have the right number.
1426,
Okay, perfect.
according to Mr. Box.
Thank you. Just want to make sure.
Okay.
At this time, I'd move the item for
Okay.
approval and adoption.
So this is 11X2 as amended. It's not showing up for me. Does it have a motion in a second? Oh, there we go. We have motion in a second. Cast your votes. Passes 7-2, and now I know there is a desire to pass it with an emergency. So would you like to make a motion for that?
Yes, please.
We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes 7-2, and with the necessary 7 votes to adopt it with an emergency. All right. We're moving on to the next item. You're welcome to leave, but you're also welcome to stay. It's totally up to you, but that item is now concluded.
This one right here. Skin. Skin. Like that.
All right, item Y is a resolution approving the proposed alignment and treatment in place proposal from the Emergency Medical Services Authority and Oklahoma Public Trust, increasing the emergency transport rate, et cetera. We have a presentation on this.
Yes, so Jonna Easley is here. She's the president and CEO of EMSA, and great partner with us in the services that they provide for us. Hopefully that will quell here in a minute and we can hear you. But she's going to present the item that's before, the resolution that's before us today.
Morning, Mayor Holt, Council, Mr. Freeman. We're here today just to ask the Council to approve updated rate alignment proposal. EMSA has not increased our transport rates in over 12 years, and we've never had a transport in place fee. So we are simply asking Council to adjust rates to reflect current costs for providing health care in the field to the residents of the city of Oklahoma City. And to allow us, just as a reminder, 88, almost 90% of our revenue comes from net patient revenue. So that's revenue that we receive from billing insurance providers. There will be no change to our EMSA Care. There will be no change in our deployment model, no change to the services that we're providing. This just allows us to align better with rates that insurance companies currently pay for EMS care, and then allows us to bill for treatment in place services we're already providing in the community, but we're not allowed to be reimbursed for because we don't have a rate set for that. And one of our largest payers, Medicaid, has been providing treatment in place reimbursement for well over 10 years. And so this just allows us to align with current billing practices.
And Jonna, this was already approved by the City Council in Tulsa, right?
So it was. This was approved by the EMSA Board of Trustees. 4 of those members appointed by Mayor Holt in January. It was approved by the Tulsa City Council on May 13th.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you mind, I know, and thank you for your presentation. I know when you were briefing us, we talked a little bit about what some outreach to renters might look like. Would you mind kind of walking us through where we are with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to back up a second, if approved, the rate alignment will not go into effect until October 1 of this year. What that does is allows us to spend a concerted amount of effort and time in addition to the time we already spend during EMSA Care open enrollment. So what we would, if approved, we would then expand our open enrollment information campaign to residents to ensure that we are reaching as many residents as possible, encouraging EMSA Care sign up. And so I did share your recommendations relative to ensuring that our renters are well aware of the EMSA Care program. We do very targeted EMSA Care public relations, so we look for the population or the residential areas in which we have the least amount of EMSA Care members, and we target to that. We also are going to be extremely aggressive because we do know that some of our renters, particularly in multifamily homes, those properties are owned by out-of-state corporations and companies. So we'll be making a very aggressive target towards making sure that we are doing not only multiple, but ensuring that we are getting the word out everywhere that we can about EMSA Care, the EMSA Care program, and our rate alignment. We want the community to be informed.
That's really great. I appreciate that, especially as I've received data saying about 46% of, Ward 2 occupied buildings are renters,
Absolutely.
right? So I really appreciate that outreach, and thank you.
Thanks, John, and thanks again for your partnership. Really appreciate your leadership.
Yeah, well, we love being part of the city, so thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you. All right, well, then we could take up the resolution if the council has no further comments or questions. We have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. Passes unanimously. All right, that concludes our votes for the day. We're now at item 12, comments from council. Ward 1, Ward 2.
Yes, just going back to the data centers real quick, since I won't arguably have the opportunity to speak on this in a couple weeks when this item comes back to council. I do want to note a couple people here who I think are doing some really thoughtful work on that proposal, and that's Councilwoman Avers. I believe we had a 2-hour phone call a couple months ago where Katrina just walked me through item after item, just thinking about how the city, though as you all now know, I'm not supportive of ultimately the project. I really want to note, Katrina, your work, and I told you I would in private, and now I'm going to do it in public. I think you're doing really thoughtful, intentional interrogation of what we can do to mitigate some of the harms that I hear from a lot of the residents where they have those concerns. You're thinking ahead about, should that building ever find itself empty? What would reuse look like? What would jobs look like? And I just want to really note that work. And then City Manager Freeman, for months, you have kept me updated on your concerns. And I just really want to note that you are doing very thoughtful work as well.
Thank you.
And just use this as a moment to say, we might not always agree on some stuff, but I do appreciate when people hear those concerns and try to address them. And both of you are doing that. And I just really wanted to take the time to say that. Sorry, I can't join you entirely. Hope you understand, but both of you are doing some really thoughtful work.
Thank you, Ward 3.
Little fun rah-rah-ree. South Lake Soccer Club had their big shebang this last weekend, and it went off as a huge success. So I'd like to give some kudos to the team and the work that goes on at South Lakes. Also, we had our Fire Station 31 Community Cookout, which was a great opportunity to commemorate the new art piece that was established there over this past month. So thank you to the city for our investment both in the facility and the community in creating access to improved public services for fire and first response. And then I think those are kind of the big two things that we had this last 2 weeks.
Cool. Ward 4? Ward 5?
I want to thank Dr. Montreux Jones, the Board of Regents, and OCCC for allowing me to give the commencement speech for the English Literature, Arts, and Humanities graduation Saturday. It was awesome.
And you'll be sending that out.
Yeah, I want to see that video.
You'll be sending that out.
It's on YouTube.
I have seen it, and it is awesome. He does a great job.
Good. Ward 6?
Yes, thank you. I would just like to take a moment to thank all the city staff. I think ACOG also was involved, Downtown OKC Partnership. On Friday was the annual Bike to Work Day. Junction Coffee was out just across the street outside Bicentennial Park. And it was just a really lovely day of, the Oklahoma City Parks Department was there with lots of fun swag and stickers and things, and just really appreciate everyone's work who put effort into organizing that event. I know it's a lot of work every year to organize multiple rides from different parts of the city, but there were rides from far northwest, far northeast, south, and kind of west central, with lots of folks who came down to highlight the importance of strong and connected, safe bike routes for people going to work, play, recreation, all that good stuff. So just want to take a moment to appreciate all their work and lift up the need for continued investment in that infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward 7.
Just a quick comment on the fun data center conversation, and I appreciate Councilman Cooper's comments and of course the great work that Councilwoman Avers is doing on a very complex issue. I think it's really important that when we talk to the public about an issue that has a lot of fear attached to it, that we really bring things back down to the facts and where we have authority and where we do not have authority. And sometimes I fear that these conversations get more about an existential threat rather than being about what we can and cannot control as a council and where we do and do not have authority. So I hope that we can, over the next few weeks, and I know we're gonna vote on those other data centers soon, but you won't miss your opportunity, Councilman Cooper, for us to vote on whether we lift the moratorium overall or not. And I think it would be great for us to kind of go on a tour of visiting with some of the organizations that have concerns about data centers so we can learn more, so we can engage directly in how do we get to a solution to technological future and at the same time respect for our environment and our resources. But I think we can do that. I just fear that if we don't have a healthy conversation where we're listening to each other and accepting where we do have authority and don't, that it's going to get away from us. And so I'd rather see us have a really good debate that's fair and factual. So I hope we can find more ways to engage in that as we get closer to the new ordinance.
Thanks, Ward 8.
Great comments. Thank you very much.
That's it? Okay. Well, no citizens have signed up to speak, so we will head back then to do the 3 executive sessions we previously approved, and then we will return. All right, we returned from executive session, and we are adjourned.